There's a little reminder about listening and how important listening is in our lives. Doesn't always tie in. We might not always think about this, but mentor of mine used to always say, Chris, we have two ears and one mouth. Let's use them accordingly. All right. We got two ears and one mouth. Let's use them accordingly, meaning you should be listening twice as much as you're talking. I do a bunch of talking, right? Those of you that really know me and right, if we've been on appointments together, we sit down, like I'm a listener. I enjoy listening. It's how I learn. It's how we all learn. It's how we create relationships. Like Simon Sinek said, it's how we build trust. There's so many qualities that we can pick up by just listening and just learning how to listen. Like he said, it's an art, but it's a skill. It's something that you can learn over time. But we got to understand why it's important, right? It's important because that's how we're able to gather information, and that's how we're able to, like he said, continue to build trust with people along our journey. You guys know, we're in a people business, right? So at the end of the day, when you are in a people business, when you're a leader, when you're a parent, when you are a spouse, when you're any, like, learning how to pick up some of these people skills, these human skills, are going to benefit you on your journey to becoming the best version of yourself, because we're going to have to deal with people for our entire life. And the more that you have the ability to influence other people, the more that you have the ability to impact somebody else's life, right? The more fulfilled your life is over time, right? Fulfillment a lot of times comes through giving. And so through giving, right? Through us being able to give to another person, we get fulfilled. But the heart of that, like where that starts, is in listening. It's learning to be attentive with our ears. Here's what it says in our text: 177 mental toughness secrets of the world class. It says here, champions are professional listeners. We're professional listeners, no matter what you're doing, right? As again, you're in business, you are a leader, you're a manager, you're in some type of capacity where you have to deal with other people, you're in some form of communication, you're a parent, you're a spouse, you're a sibling, like you're a communicator, right? You have to communicate things. But no, when you get to the world class levels, when you want to design your ideal life, we got to, again, take some of these traits and then adapt them in our life. So how good are we at listening? That's the question. How good are we at listening? Here's what it says in the text. It says, amateur performers underestimate the power of listening. In conversation, while others are talking, they're thinking about what they're going to say next. The pros are very different. They see listening as the key factor to uncovering what is really going on inside the minds of other people. Human beings are emotional creatures with a driving need to be understood. Yet 95% of us aren't listening. The champions understand this need and use it to connect with people on an emotional and spiritual level. World-class salespeople know listening to the needs of the prospect is the single most important thing you can do in the sales process. World-class managers know questioning and listening to their salespeople are the most effective methods of getting to know what motivates and moves them to action. The great ones practice listening in meetings, at cocktail parties, and anywhere else they can hone their skills. Professional performers have a profound respect for the art of listening, and they use the skill to help them achieve their goals. So again, how much are we listening? Some of you in business, right? If I coach anybody down the path of social media, some people are trying to build a business, and right, and social media is super impactful in our businesses. The first thing I tell everyone, if you have not started building a business on social, or right, you don't know how to, do the marketing side, what's the first thing I say? I say, got to go to social media and listen. Don't go there to talk, right? What most people think about, and this is just an example, but if you're building something or you want to communicate something or whatever the case is, you go to social media and you just start posting. You just start talking. People call it post and ghost, right? Some people are like, I hate social media, so I'm just going to post and then I leave, right? I just post and then I come back in 2 days, posting and just leaving. That's the equivalent of just talking, right? But social media is a platform where people are talking a lot. So the smartest people will go in and listen. Just go in and listen. Now, you don't want to listen to nonsense, but you want to listen to the important things. You want to listen to the conversations. You want to listen to what people are saying, right? We're about to head back into some political, right? You guys are already probably seeing it on social, right? All the political stuff's going to start popping up, and we're going to get left this and right this, and no one's in the middle, and everyone's got to choose their side, right? But I would challenge you during this whole political season, like if you're on social, like read the comments. Maybe you don't have to give your 2 cents. Again, if it's just important to you and you want to talk, sure. But maybe you might get more value by just reading the comments and seeing what people say and seeing what people's thoughts are. You don't have to, they don't have to become your thoughts, but like you should maybe just listen to see kind of what's the temperature? What do people think? How are people operating out there on all topics? So that's like the first thing. The first thing I normally tell people when it comes to social media and something you're trying to build, like go and listen. We're professional listeners, constantly trying to gather. Oh, tell me more. Just what Simon Sinek said. Tell me more. Go on, right? Oh, what do you mean by that? Learning how to keep the conversation rolling, learning how to make sure that people are feeling heard, builds trust. Let me give you another tip. If any of you go into networking events, I've dropped this on social somewhere, but if any of you are in the a place of doing networking events or like it said in here, cocktail parties or whatever, I would challenge you to ask more questions. I say this to the team again, right? Be more interested than interesting, right? Be more interested than interesting. What does that mean? That means when you meet somebody, be genuinely interested, genuinely curious and interested in what they have going on. Simon Sinek said that in the video. He said, hey, one of the things we have to do is what? He said, we have to go from judgment to curiosity. That's how we train ourselves to listen more, is because we're actually genuinely curious about what that person is saying, how they're feeling, what they're thinking about, versus immediately judging someone. I see someone, they say one or two things, I judge them, I know where they're at. I'm not curious. I don't have questions. I'm just gonna, like he said, litigate, defend, go back and forth. That's not the case. If we can be curious, you can gather more information. So you're at a networking event, you're having conversations, you're in a room with a bunch of people, you're at your next conference, you're at church, you're at wherever, right? You're around a bunch of people. Ask questions. Be genuinely interested in somebody's life. Before, like it says in here, it says amateurs in conversation while others are talking are thinking about what they're going to say. You're not really actively listening. You're just waiting to respond. Tie all this stuff together because these are all right. Again, how we do one thing is kind of how we do everything. All these things apply in different areas of our life. Our couples therapist, like our marriage therapist, had told us this a long time ago, right? Said actively listen to listen and don't listen to respond. When you're in the heat of an argument or you're kind of going back and forth with someone, listen, right? To understand. Like actively listen to understand where the other person's coming from. Don't actively listen just to respond. You guys got to catch that, right? 'Cause sometimes that's easier said than done. Sometimes people are saying things or something's happening and you want to respond. You're listening so that you can have something to say. But the key to learning how to be a great listener is listening just to understand. Don't be thinking about what you want to say. Just listen to understand where they're coming from, right? So again, at the networking event, you're at the group social, you're at the outing, whatever it is, be genuinely interested in other people. Ask, it'll lead you to ask more questions. It'll lead you to listen more intently, right? You have intention around your listening because now you're going to try to find some questions. Someone starts telling you about a story. It's not going to be like, oh, that same thing happened to me. And now I'm going to go explain my story. It's, no, I really want to understand how you felt about that or what happened to you or how that played out in your life. Now I'm genuinely curious, genuinely curious. Oh yeah, there you go. Tiffany, I dropped it in there. Genuinely curious. It's important. It's important to, again, practice this as a skill set that's going to allow you to, again, grow trust with people. It's going to allow you to have better relationships. It's going to allow you to be able to gather more information to make better decisions. Most importantly, where do we start this conversation? it can help you shift your perspective. If you are open to being interested in another person, genuinely, like you're going to maybe learn something. You're going to learn something. And when you learn, you take in information, it'll help you shift your perspective. It'll help you see something different. And if we change our thinking, we change our life. That's the way it works. If we change the way we think about something, if we can change our perspective on something, our life can change. Why? Because then we have different actions, different habits that lead to different outcomes. All of this stuff starts with our ability to listen, to be able to listen to understand, and not listen just to respond. Right? Learning how to use our two ears and our one mouth accordingly. Learning how to be genuinely interested in another human being and not just trying to talk over people or just try to steal the show. These are traits of world-class people. Again, you might hear me talk a lot, but I listen a lot. Right? Some of you have been on appointments with me. The first 10, 15, 20 minutes, I'm asking questions. I'm trying to get to know people. In that networking scenario, when you ask people questions about themselves, when you ask people and you're more interested in them than you are interested in telling people about what you're doing, you build trust. People like you. I've done this for years. I learned how to do this. Every networking event I go to, every group, normally going in there, I learn more about people than they know about me. But when we walk out of there, they feel like we're great friends or that we made a real great connection. Not because they know a lot about me, because I did the talking, but because I let them do the talking. And it's not often in life that we're letting other people do the talking, that we're letting other people guide the conversation and you just being curious. So it's something to practice. Just like Simon Sinek said, it's something to practice. It's something that you can grow in and learn, but you got to actively do it. Right? Sam Walton, founder of Walmart, says, listen, this quote, listen to everyone in your company and figure out ways to get them talking. The folks on the front line, the ones who actually talk to the customers, are the ones who are the only ones who really know what's going on out there. You better find out what they know. Better find out what they know. Right? I say this in our business, right? I'm always asking people questions about their finances, about what they're doing, about who they're talking to, about what information they're seeing. Why? Because that helps me get a bit better picture. I have my perspective. I do a certain thing, but other people have their own. So I got to learn those things, right? Here's the action step for today. And here's a big one. It says strike up a conversation with someone and see how long you can keep that person talking. I know, just right there, some of y'all are like, I don't want to talk to people. That's fine. If you're having a day, you don't want to talk to people, you're entitled to that, right? I'm an introvert by nature. So there's plenty of those days that I prefer to be at home, right? But again, if we're practicing, if we're trying to become better, we're trying to get to the best, highest, grandest vision of ourselves, then we have to practice the things that are sometimes difficult, but that are important and crucial to us getting to that life. So it says strike up a conversation with someone and see how long you can keep that person talking. Practice listening at a higher level. Ask for clarification and for repetition of information. Try to get a sense of what this person is really feeling. Make a game out of it. Make a game out of getting good at listening. It's fun. Get around some next time you're at a cocktail party, next time you're at a social gathering, next time you're at a networking event, next time you're at church, next time you're anywhere where there's a group of people, strike up a conversation and see how good you are at just listening, asking questions and listening. You might shock yourself, right? You might shock yourself about how good you are at it, or you might shock yourself about how not good you are at listening. But it's okay, as long as you know that we have, like, this is something that's important that you got to grow into and that you got to work towards. You'll continue to do the work. But it's a key point in us getting to the life that we want, y'all. These little small things, I hope y'all see it's the little small things that add up to the big things. It's the little small things, right? What do we say? Life is a game of inches, of millimeters. A little shift here changes your trajectory. A little shift in thinking changes how, what you're capable of doing. Just small shifts. not major grand leaps. It's the little by little. I heard Kobe say this, right, on some Instagram post. He's like, people think, right, you're going to make these big leaps and then all of a sudden, right, things change. He's like, you can't jump to the top of Mount Everest, right? It's like step by step. The better you get every single day, things get better. And then you look back over 365 days, over, 2 years, 3 years, and you've grown tremendously just going step by step. Well, it's little things like this. Teaching yourself this active skill of listening happens every single day. Can you start a conversation today and get someone talking more than, right, you are doing the talking in that conversation? Can you actively create these habits of listening to your spouse or to your child or to whomever, right? Like, do you have active listening? I'll leave you with this. Mentor of mine used to always say intentionally, right? Because you got to be intentional about listening. He said when he would have conversations with people, he would intentionally turn his ear like this to listen. So imagine you're sitting at a coffee shop, you're sitting at dinner, whatever the case is, you're having a conversation, and someone starts talking, and you're like, tell me more. That's interesting. You actively turns his ear. That was his way of learning how to actively listen. So we can all practice these same things. Remember, you got two ears and one mouth. Use them accordingly. Go out there, listen, take in more than what you're actually going out and saying. And I'm telling you, it's a game changer. It takes pressure off of you. You learn a lot about people. It's a great, great thing to do. So let's practice our listening skills. Right? I feel like a teacher, right? Let's practice our listening skills, kids. Let's practice our listening skills over today. Let's go out there, do something that scares us, do something that pushes us out of our comfort zone. And again, at the end of the day, we're doing this to make sure we're getting to the highest, grandest expression of ourselves, right? I love you guys. I want y'all to win. You deserve it. We got to go out there. We got to do the work so that our families can win. But it starts with us. All right. So we'll see you guys on Friday. Enjoy the rest of your Wednesday. Take care.